you know, lithography is done on this giant limestone. You know, it's like huge, and then you know you draw with this lithographer's crayon, and then the ink doesn't stay on the stone, it just stays on the crayon, and then you print this giant stone. And now they figured it out, like you can, there's like this like metal, and you can draw on that stuff. And I did that a little bit, but that's really fun, because that's the stuff, like when you look at like old Toulouse-Lautrec posters or whatever, like it looks like charcoal or something, and that's exactly what it is. Like they drew it in this crayon, but they're drawing it on, like they have one chance. I mean, that's the cool thing about etching, cool thing about lithography, and a lot of printing, as opposed to silkscreen, is that you have one shot to make that drawing on the plate. That's it, you know. Otherwise, you got it, like with the etching, you're literally etching the lines. You know, with etching, you're literally etching the lines into the plate. With litho, you know, you can't touch it. You can't put your hand on it. You can't like rest your hand on it and like draw on it. You have to like hold, like, you know, and it's like a little dance. Like you have to fucking, you know, have the chops to do that shit. The shittiest printing of 1951, in my mind, is better than the like top-notch quality printing of today. You know, simply because of the process. You know, simply because it was a 4-color process. It was, you know, all of these colors were made up of 4 colors. So there was kind of like this shared like palette that everyone used. You know, those old art books where the plates are like tipped in, like, you know, they're just glued, like, you know, it's all black and white, and then you get to the color section, and the color section is like this old piece of paper with, you know, the painting is like glued in by the corners. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but like those are great because they're plates. Like they've taken this painting, they took a photograph of this painting, and then they literally like hand colored it to make it look like the painting. When I would make comics on the Xerox machine, you know, the Xerox machine where you could change the toner cartridge into red into blue, is that I did do overprinting on those things, and you would just have to take the drawing that I made. I would take the drawing that I made and like, you know, color it in 2 different ways, and I'd have 2 different originals, and then I would just do that. But I mean, that's the only way that I use Photoshop, and that was the first time I've ever done a book where the originals weren't sent to the printer and shot by a camera. They don't shoot the originals and create film by camera anymore. They do it by a PDF file, so everything's scanned in. The printer guarantees 100% registration, and that's sort of the problem, because it's like, I like bad printing. I like when things are printed at the Chinatown printer and they fuck it up. I almost want to give the person that's scanning things in for cold heat, like I want to give them Xeroxes of my originals, because it's like, when the same thing that you put on the Xerox, when you put it on the scanner, man, it's just completely different. I think I do it because I really want to maintain a handmade feel to the whole book. I want every line that you see to be drawn by hand. I don't want anything that's generated by a computer to be on my page, and that includes the colors, and then that includes screens that the colors, you know, are made up of, to kind of be more like an old school cartoonist. You know, if you think of somebody like Jack Kirby or anybody who worked on a you know, like on a monthly book, you know, the amount of work that they had to do is just, it's insane. You know, I draw from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed, and I just make my deadlines. Comics are, you know, it's to me is like, it's this episodic entertainment that comes out. I mean, this is Cold Heat's interesting because it's the first time that I've ever worked on an artwork, that I've ever done a work that I'm seeing reviews of it as I'm still working on it. And it's interesting to see what the reviewers are saying and how they think it's going to go, because Ben and I don't even know how it's going to go. What I really find fascinating about comics is that it's you know, there's there's something there in the exchange between the readers and like what they expect is going to happen. It's like your favorite TV show that comes out every week. You don't know what's going to happen. You might know what's going to happen. We want you to buy the comic. We want you to just, you have to find issue 4. You have to find issue 7. And that might be just kind of, you know, we might as well just like shoot ourselves in the foot, but commodity form as community form, you know, like I'm making this thing, Ben and I are making this thing, Dan and all of us are making this thing that like we're putting out into the world, and it's in bookstores, you know, it's accessible. Like, I mean, how many people go to a gallery? You know, how many people go to a museum? Not that many. But like if your comic is in a bookstore, or your, you know, your comic strip is in a newspaper, you know, a lot of people are going to see that, and they might not buy it, but they're going to, it's going to be out there, you know. And if I can like reach one kid in like Omaha, Nebraska or something, like hallelujah. I'm drawing it in the way that I'm trying to reflect what's happening in the story. To like pare someone down to like, you know, just this simplified cartoon face, like that just doesn't interest me. It interests me sometimes when that is what's going on in the story. Have a shaky camera, or, you know, like a weird lens or something like that. Like in film, like that's kind of understood, like when, you know, the character's going through something and they change something. But in comics, like, you know, I'm changing the drawing style. Sonny Chirac was just saying like I wanted to like really reach my audience, and I really wanted to like engage them. And when I saw him play, like he did all of that. I mean, he had the audience in the palm of his hand. It was unbelievable because he could do everything. He wasn't just out there, and he wasn't just, you know, the guy playing the standards like in the hotel lobby, like, you know what I mean? Like he could do everything. And I just, I mean, to me, that's a real artist, is like that ability to, you know, make some kind of out there shit, and to make, you know, it's like, I mean, I can think of a lot of movies like David Lynch, you know, it's like Blue Velvet, it's like, it's out there, but it's a straightforward film noir. But then his new movie that just came out, what the hell was it called? Like, I can't remember. I saw it recently, and it's on video. It's like 3 hours, and it's just, it's out there. But it's great. It's the same David Lynch themes, but, you know, it's like his, you know, he went off, but he can do both. You know, it's obvious that he can do both. You know, he can do something like Twin Peaks, and it's like, it's set in this genre, but, you know, there's something under the surface, and that's what's interesting. You know, it's like the, you know, I just find that as the true artist who can do all of those things. Ben and I write the music, and then there it is, you know, and it's like, I'm gonna hit that note, you know, I'm gonna, like, when it's the climactic, you know, page turner, I'm gonna hit it, you know, I'm gonna really shoot for it, and I find that really interesting. Dan's sort of getting, you know, Picturebox is getting a little bit pigeonholed as like the Fort Thunder publisher, and, you know, and it's all these kind of like avant-garde comics, and like to us, you know, it's not, they're not that arty or weird or off the wall. They're just, we just think they're good, you know. And like Dan, you know, believes in the things that he's putting out. Like he's, you know, Dan has a great eye. I'm trying to be like right here, like what's relevant right now. And like, you know, to me, like Paper Rad is like really interesting. Like Fort Thunder is really interesting. You know, like Dayglow Colors, it's interesting how those are like in the mix right now, 2007. You know, it's like that's what's there, that's what's out there, and I find that fascinating. So I wanted Cold Heat to reflect that. Like I wanted it to have this kind of like, you know, a little brighter palette, like use the pink and this like kind of electric blue as opposed to some earthier colors. Like, and I think it really gives it that kind of like teenage girl feel, you know, or something. And like, I'm not trying to make comics for teenage girls, but I'm just trying to like, you know, evoke that world, you know. Kirby, you know, it's like the New Gods and the Fourth World stuff that he was doing in the early 70s, I think was of its time. It made sense. It was like, it was perfect for the early 70s, you know. It was like, you know, whereas like Captain America was perfect for the 1940s. Like, you know, I mean, he got it. Like, he reflected the world. Like, you know, just like Warhol. Like, Warhol reflected the world. You know, when he becomes a portrait painter in the 70s and 80s, like, he's from the world. You know, it's not him that's changing. You know, it's like he doesn't have to be the underground filmmaker guy anymore. He can be like this corporate, you know, like artist guy, because that's what the world is becoming. You know, so I mean, I just, to me, that's, you know, that's really it.